That's right, you heard me. Gay. I'm gay, gay, gay.
Oh, my furry forest friends, I'm gay.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Queer Peer Reviews, where we review queer media, good, bad, and ugly. I'm your host, Jamie, and today with me we have a special co-host, my girlfriend, Pam.
Hey everybody, my name is Pam, and here at Queer Peer Reviews, we review your favorite and not so favorite movies, TV shows, and queer media.
On today's episode of Queer Peer Reviews, we are reviewing the hit Amazon Prime show, Yellowjackets. Yeah, so as of filming, only season 1 and 2 are out, so this is just a spoiler alert to those who have not yet seen those. So Yellowjackets is basically about this girls' high school soccer team on their way to nationals when their plane goes down in the middle of the woods. I don't know if we know exactly where the woods are located.
They'd never quite say where it was located, but basically they're stranded in the middle of nowhere.
So I don't know if you ever saw the movie, but I think Yellowjackets kind of got inspiration from the movie called Alive, which was about this men's soccer team that their plane crashed in the Andes Mountains. And something they both have in common is that they eventually lead to cannibalism.
Right, yeah, cannibalism, lots of violence, gore. So if you're into that thing, this is the show for you.
So we have a whole bunch of characters, but let's talk about our main ones. We got Shauna, her best friend Jackie. We got Coach Ben. We got Misty, good old Misty. We'll be talking lots about her.
Yeah.
And two queer characters, which are
Ty and Van.
Also, Coach Ben is gay. We learn a little bit later in the series.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
That's right, you heard me. Gay.
Ultimately, it is through their will to survive that they work together, and at other times literally destroy each other. So
in the beginning of the series we have Jackie, who is basically the leader. She's able to pep talk everybody to work together, but we slowly start to learn that that is one of Jackie's only skills, which doesn't exactly help them survive. So as time goes on, they start to kind of rebel against Jackie's leadership.
Yeah, I guess they rebel against her authority because she's not able to contribute in the wilderness. She has no survival skills.
Yeah.
But on top of that, everyone just is hungry.
Yeah, the show brings a whole new definition to girl dinner.
Oh yeah.
Girl dinner, girl dinner, girl dinner, oh girl dinner.
Misty, she destroyed the emergency box.
Yeah, she destroys the box because she realizes, oh my god, everyone values me, everyone likes me.
Yeah. She didn't want that going away.
I need to make sure we stay here forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, the show's really cool because it has these flashbacks from when they first crashed versus years and years later when they're all adults, or some of them are adults because some of them don't make it out of that forest.
Yeah.
Sweet angel Laura Lee.
Oh, Laura Lee.
She was a very religious girl. She, by the power of prayer, she thought she could get them out of there, and she found this plane, thought that she could go get help with this plane.
Yeah, and she just crashed and burned.
Yeah. Poor Laura Lee.
There was also another very essential character to the show who was very, I think this show touches on both spirituality and mental illness as well, and this can be a really gray area, but it can be very misleading. So I think this show encapsulates kind of the slippery slope of
Slowly going insane
and praising things.
Lottie. Yeah, Lottie was one of Laura Lee's friends, and Laura Lee taught her about religion.
Yeah.
And I guess she became a very spiritual person, and she was they say she was chosen by the forest to be their leader, not Jackie.
Right. But she was, I mean, it was really heavily implied that she could see things that were there that weren't there, like within the realm of paranormal activity, which is where the line gets very confusing because they are losing their minds out in the forest.
But speaking of those who survive the forest, there's the other half of the plot line, which is like current day.
We have Shauna, we have Nat as well. And so all of them in modern day, you can still see the impact that they had from the days in the forest.
Somehow every survivor from the Yellowjackets team is now being like investigated.
Yeah. There was blackmail involved and a lot of who did it moments that keep the show really interesting.
Oh yeah, and speaking of blackmail, like what exactly are they trying to blackmail them for? Like what did they do in that forest that could have been so bad? Well, like we said, cannibalism takes an effect sometime in the show, and sweet Jackie became girl dinner.
Yeah, she, her ear.
So Jackie was
I think we should discuss Jackie.
Yeah. Jackie, yeah, sweet Jackie. First of all, I thought this girl was queer.
Yeah.
She is very queer coded. First of all, in the first episode, it is hot. I'm gonna take this jacket off 1 second. Let's do this really cool transition effect. Hello, welcome back.
Hey.
We took off our jackets. Anyway,
Shauna and Jackie and their friendship was very heavily queer baited. When I saw those first few episodes, I was very much like, oh, this is the queer representation. The classic, high school best friends,
Yeah, because Jackie has a boyfriend named Jeff.
Who she doesn't really like.
She doesn't really like him that much, and we thought it was because she was gay.
Yeah.
And then we thought her and Shauna were going to have a thing, and I know a lot of people online also thought that too, because I've seen multiple threads saying Jackie was actually in love with Shauna this whole time.
So many edits.
There are a lot of edits.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it turns out that Shauna slept with Jackie's boyfriend, Jeff.
Yeah.
She learns that she is pregnant with Jeff's baby, which causes a lot of strain on her relationship with Jackie, which leads to Jackie's death because she gets so stubborn and sleeps outside, and Shauna doesn't do anything about it, and she's dead the next day. And Shauna feels terrible for this. She starts talking to her dead body and eventually eats her ear. The ground was too hard to bury Jackie.
Right.
So they're like, okay, we're gonna just cremate her. They put her over this little fire. They go inside, snow falls on Jackie, and she is just roasted.
She is roasted, roasted slowly outside.
I love that.
And everyone woke up.
I love that part when they're just like,
yeah, they were
that smells
sniffing
scrumptious.
the air, they were sniffing the air, thinking that there was food nearby.
There's a whole buffet outside, and its name is Jackie.
Intensely, it is really graphic.
It is very graphic. Yeah, so
we weren't kidding.
Trigger
about the
warning
gore.
to the gore, but it was a really cool scene though, because I think the whole time I was like, oh my god.
I think what was interesting too was the whole evolution of how the group dynamic dissolved, and how who became in charge in terms of what they could provide for the group, whether that be food or faith or optimism. There were points where that was really needed in order for them to just get through. So we already discussed the queer baiting between Shauna and Jackie, but there is, rest assured, a woman-loving woman couple in the show.
Van and Ty. I love Van and Ty. I love Van. Van is so... She has the heaviest plot armor I have ever seen. She was set on fire in the plane. She survived that. She was basically eaten by wolves.
Yeah.
She survived. I think she was dead for 2 seconds.
She was dead for a solid few seconds. And I genuinely thought she was going to be killed off.
I was very sad because Van is my favorite character. And then in present time, another spoiler alert, we learned that Van has cancer, and that was the last episode of season 2.
Yeah.
So I feel like she's going to survive this one because she survived everything. I think the cancer is there to scare the rest of the characters in the show.
Yeah, maybe. But in terms of the couple, it wasn't very obvious to me when I saw them interacting, but then we see the clip where they're making out by a tree, and then later on in the lake.
Oh yeah, there's a few romance scenes between them, and then later on we learn that like they're not together in like present time, but then they still kind of have feelings for each other. They're still like respect and all that for each other.
Yeah, Ty had a wife and a kid, and
we're not going to say too much about that. You guys can see for yourself, but I feel so bad for Ty, but their whole dynamic is really great because even though Ty has like all these things she can't control about her, Van is still there to like protect her and try to like rescue her from herself, essentially.
Yeah, that's very true. Both when they were in the forest and even in modern day, like they still confront that together despite not being together.
And then we also have Coach Ben. We have a whole episode that's kind of dedicated to his backstory of him and his boyfriend. There's also a few times where I think it was Misty, crazy little Misty, she is in love with Coach Ben.
Misty's desperate for love.
And I think there's a point where Misty's like, if you don't do this for me, or if you kill yourself, because Coach Ben has a lot going on, if you kill yourself, I'm going to tell the whole world that you're gay.
Yeah, she did blackmail and threaten him with that when he tried to off himself. Misty definitely has a lot of character flaws, I will say. But she is, in terms of the whole scheme of things of the show, she is really interesting.
Yeah, Yellowjackets is such a great show. There's so many things we could say about it, but of course we want you guys to watch it for yourselves. Like, the acting is amazing, and I think it's really well written, but we'll talk about that in our ratings.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to the ratings. First up, representation.
Okay, so for queer representation, we give it...
I give it a 9.
I gave it a 9 too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for representation, we have Van and Ty, but then we also have Coach Ben, and this also takes place in the 90s. Like, it's not that, there's definitely...
It's a different experience for each person in the story, which was cool, because we got to see Ty in the 90s in the forest, but then later on as an adult, married.
Oh yeah, we do see a gay marriage in the show as well.
And she had a family. I think showing that sort of possibility in itself is not something we get to see very often, because there's so many shows that kill off sapphic relationships or sapphic women as well. So that's why it's such a high rating for me, because it shows the actual possibilities of what life could look like, and it's normalized throughout the whole show, despite it being in the 90s earlier on during their flashbacks and their adolescence and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, like you said, they do have a surviving sapphic relationship, which I'm really happy. I know they've thrown us some curveballs in terms of like, will the gays survive?
Yeah.
Will the gay relationship survive? And so far it has, and hopefully with season 3, we see Van survive. But then we also have Coach Ben, who has a partner, but he's not exactly out.
Right.
And then he also hides that from his students as well, because then when they learn he's gay, Misty's threatening him about it.
Right.
I'll tell everyone you're gay. You have both types of outcomes, like you said, for queer people.
Yeah. I think it was really funny that one scene where Ty, as an adult, is with her wife, and they're getting their pictures taken by that photographer, and they're getting praised for being out. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because it shows the whole, they poke fun at it, at the whole idea. And they're just yeah, we're just out here living our lives, as they should.
Out here being gay and stuff,
Out here being gay. Next up, queer comfort.
For queer comfort, we give it
7.5.
I give it a 9.5. So let me explain mine first, I guess. So, okay. It's definitely a comfort show. I was recommended it by so many people to watch it. A lot of my straight friends were like, "Oh my God, you need to watch Yellowjackets! Like, it's gay."
Yeah.
So like, it's a great show, first of all, and I feel like I've seen so many edits of it, like of like the queer relationships. I feel like a lot of queer people just gravitate towards it. I don't give it a solid 10 because if your favorite comfort show is about cannibals, I mean, it's more than just cannibals. But it gets a notch down because of the cannibalism.
Right.
I don't relate to the cannibalism.
I mean, I don't relate to cannibalism either.
That's great.
I'm giving it a 7.5, simply because of the horror and gore aspect. I think it was executed really well, and I really did enjoy the balance. But I know horror and gore, especially like the really bloody scenes, are not for everybody. I mean, they're like eating people's guts and stuff. So for those that are a bit more squeamish, I can understand why they'd want to take a step back and maybe watch clips. However, as someone who used to not like horror movies or anything super gory, and I saw this show, I really enjoyed it. But that's the only reason why I'm giving it a 7.5.
Next up, originality.
For originality, we give it...
I give it an 8.3.
I gave it a 9. Why 8.3?
It just felt right to me, Pam. It just felt right in my soul.
Okay.
Obviously, like I said, I feel like they got inspiration from that movie that was based on true events, which doesn't make it any less original. Mm-hmm. I truly feel like it's a really unique show in terms of like what happens to all these kids and just like the jumping back and forth between like what is currently going on with them and the fact that it's more than just the plane crash. There's like this whole thing that's haunting them as well.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see more of like that in future seasons. I think it's a really unique show, original wise.
I think it's really original, hence the 9.
But why not a 10?
Not quite a 10 because of the whole survivalism aspect, but they didn't turn it into something that includes zombies. I feel like if they had taken that route, it would be a little different. I mean, there is cannibalism, but in terms of the mixture between haunting and them losing their minds, it's never really quite clear if it's a mixture of the haunting and them going hungry and then later on dealing with like the PTSD and trauma of everything that they experienced. It's really hard to pinpoint why exactly they are the way they are. There's so many variables involved, and I think that in itself is pretty original. Next up is writing.
So for writing, I give it a 9.9.
I gave it an 8.5.
Still a good score all around. I give it a 9.9. I love the writing of the show. I feel like a lot of times in movies and shows when they jump back and forth, sometimes it's a little confusing. To me, I think they did a really good job differentiating and not confusing storylines to the point where like, wait, what's happening? Like, I feel like I was very on track with what was going on the whole time. The only reason why I don't give it a 10 is maybe they'll explain it in season 3, but how did Javi survive in that tree?
Yeah.
Like, was he hunting? Were animals just falling into that little pit he was in? But I feel like there might be a plot hole somewhere there, but it could be something that's easily resolved in season 3.
I did enjoy the writing a lot. I think there was a few loopholes in terms of the plot development, in terms of why they did the stuff they did, because again, there were multiple variables. So if someone were to ask you, hey, so, why cannibalism and, what happened? What was the main cause of it? I feel like because that can't really be one direct, straightforward answer, that has me hesitating.
I feel like when they use the excuse up for interpretation, sometimes as an excuse for lazy writing,
right.
But I feel like
This wasn't the case.
I feel like it's on purpose. I feel like they want you to wonder, like, what's the real reason for everything that's happening?
Yeah. So, up next, what are our overall feelings about the show?
So for our overall feelings towards Yellowjackets, I give it a 9.
I gave it a 10.
Oh. Period. Mochi, what do you give it? But yeah, I love the show. I don't think there's a particular reason why I don't give it a 10. I think it's just I want more from the show, and I think maybe season 3 will bump that up to a 10. But like I said, I feel like there's something missing in terms of like just the rest of the story. I want to know everything that's happening. So there's room for the improvement.
As someone who's watched a lot of paranormal or horror type shows and movies now, the show is a culmination of a lot of my favorite things. It feels like it was made for me because it has queerness and the whole scariness aspect to it and survivalism, and I'm just really into that stuff. So if you are, again, we highly suggest you watch the show. Yeah, it really kept me intrigued throughout all of season 1 and 2, and even though I've enjoyed other shows that are within the same vein of horror and supernatural stuff, this one really caught my attention, and I was able to consistently keep up and loved watching every single episode. I never fully fell off the bandwagon, which is really hard for me. So, strong 10 from me.
You know what? I'm gonna change mine to a 9.5.
Wow.
It is a 9.5.
9.5.
Yeah, like Pam said, it's one of my favorite shows too. Can't wait to see what they do with season 3.
Season 3.
There's room for this to become a 10, so maybe you'll see us again when season 3 comes out.
Hardcore Yellowjackets fan.
Check out our necklaces.
Yeah. Shout out to Spirit Halloween. No, this is not sponsored.
Alright, so let's get to our QPR total. It is just us here today, so the gays are doing the math.
Yeah.
You want to let us know what our total is?
So, our total for Yellowjackets here at QPR is 90.2.
Which is a gay minus.
Nice.
Yeah, it's definitely well-deserved. I highly recommend it. Honestly, whenever people ask me what show to watch, I've always recommended Yellowjackets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great show. Check it out for yourself. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Queer Period Reviews. Down in the description, you can find links to our social media pages, as well as the Trevor Project and other queer resources. Our guest star Mochi here would like to thank you for watching this episode. And he also says, what do you say, Mochi? Mochi says gay rights.